from Northern California. I am out here with my girlfriend for a few days. We're heading back down to LA tomorrow, but we have a beautiful day here in Point Reyes. The sun is shining. I'm hoping to get out tonight and take some beautiful sunset photos. Here with me I have the Hasselblad X2D with the 55mm 2.5 lens. This kit has been a dream to work with, if I'm being honest. The build quality and just how tactile and simple the camera is really second to none in my opinion. This is one of the most beautiful cameras that I've ever had the chance to photograph with. The actual images coming out of this thing are pretty phenomenal. The depth you're able to get with these lenses, especially the 55mm, feels right at home in my hands. I'm just so impressed with the image quality and the character that I'm able to get on portraits and landscapes alike with this camera. Another really cool thing is I'm able to not use a memory card. As you can see here, I use the onboard storage in this guy, which for me is a first. I've never had a camera actually that has this much internal memory. You have a whole terabyte SSD inside of this thing, and it makes picking it up and taking it out really simplistic in that way. I haven't had to think about a memory card or formatting anything. You're able to fit thousands and thousands of photos just on the internal memory in this camera, which to me is pretty incredible. With that being said, here in a few hours, we're probably gonna head out and start taking some photos in Point Reyes. We'll definitely bring you guys along. Alright, so I've just finished up work for the day and sounds looking pretty nice. So I think I'm gonna head out and go shoot some sunset photos. But first, we gotta pack. right, so in a mad dash to get up here, I just barely made it for sunset. Sure is beautiful out here. I am up in Angeles National Forest, which if you guys have watched this channel at all for any length of time, this is probably my favorite place to come here in the LA area to get a nature fix. Maybe this in Malibu. But I did bring the X2D with me. Now, I've been shooting with this camera for a better part of a month now, and it's been really fun to bring this along on all my different adventures and trips, and obviously be able to bring you guys along for some of those journeys as well. And you know, for a camera like this, it's such a unique camera, I've come to learn. And you know, it's a camera that has been really fun to kind of figure out. You know, where is this camera's place in the market? Where is this camera's place in my photography workflow? And the best way that I can kind of equate this camera is it almost kind of seems like you're painting. You know, with that extremely large sensor and the medium format depth, and also just the way you shoot with this camera, how tactile it is. It feels like you're almost painting these landscape photos. And overall, this experience has been really enjoyable, to say the least. Now, with that being said, this camera is extremely pricey. It's probably the most expensive camera that I've reviewed here on the channel. And obviously, I know that not everyone watching this video, or even maybe any of you, are gonna necessarily go pick up one of these cameras immediately. But you know, I think that's kind of the opportunity that I'm thankful for here on the channel, is to be able to kind of test these cameras out, put them through their paces, not just sit in a studio and talk about them, be able to get out here, get out into nature, be able to shoot photos, and share some actual thoughts of, you know, being able to use what is regarded as one of the highest end cameras on the market right now. You know, Hasselblad did an amazing job with this camera, and I'm excited to continue to learn how this camera really fits into my workflow as a photographer. I think a lot of what I've shot subject matter wise with this camera, it makes a lot of sense for travel, for portrait, especially for landscape. Anything that's a little slower paced, I think this camera is really great for that. You know, you're not going to be shooting necessarily high action stuff or anything that's super fast paced with this camera. I think this camera really intentionally kind of makes you slow down. I would say the camera that I own currently that I would compare this camera the most to is probably my Mamiya 7 II, which is a 6x7 medium format film camera. And the reason I would compare it to this is the pace of which I shoot them is very similar. I find myself taking a lot less photos than I normally do with this camera, being a lot more intentional with my compositions, and overall just really enjoying the final product that I'm able to get out of this X2D. I do have one final trip this month that I'm going to be taking this camera on, and I'm excited to bring you guys along for that. But for now, the sun is setting. It's absolutely beautiful here. I'm gonna go explore around and take some photos. So I just got back from a one-night camping trip out to Joshua Tree. I decided to roll out late last night and meet some friends. I made it just in time for sunset and woke up for a beautiful sunrise this morning. Brought along the X2D as well for this journey, and I snapped some pretty cool photos. Joshua Tree is a really fun location to shoot because I think it's very, you know, unique compared to a lot of the rest of California. I think a lot of people focus on the Joshua trees themselves there, but I myself love to shoot the different boulder fields and, you know, all the different light patterns hitting those rocks. It's a beautiful spot. And we also had a really great campsite, which obviously helps a lot. I did take a few star photos, honestly, none of which I was really super stoked on, but you know, that happens, that's okay. I think that kind of brings me to my point here that I wanted to make in this video, and really any video with any camera. You know, it's not even specifically the Hasselblad, but I think just in general with cameras, you know, you need quite a bit of time to really put them through their paces and really see what they're capable of, and more importantly, see how they fit your workflow. And I think I've done the best that I possibly can in the amount of time that I've had with this camera so far. I've taken it on as many trips as possible and taken quite a bit of photos so far. So my review at this point, is just everything that I've been able to experience, and I think as time goes on, I'm going to be able to have a lot more time with this camera, and hopefully I'll be able to give you guys even more in-depth coverage with the X2D. Big shout out to Hasselblad for not only reaching out, but allowing me to keep this camera. It's definitely not taken lightly, and I really appreciate them sending me this camera to add to my kit. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I'm definitely figuring out where this camera fits into my workflow. It's a much slower camera than I'm used to shooting, and that actually is not necessarily a bad thing. I think when I'm shooting my landscape and travel work, this camera is amazing for that kind of stuff. Obviously in high-paced, sort of action-oriented environments, I think I would choose other options, but that has nothing to do with the image quality or the actual capabilities of this camera. It's more so just, it's not really what this camera is made for. Now with all that being said, this is a phenomenal piece of kit and a really beautiful camera. My goal with this video really is just to be able to share with you guys what the experience is like shooting with this camera, and it's been nothing but a pleasurable experience for me. But that is all I have for you guys today. Before this video wraps up, I did want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, which is Squarespace, for sponsoring today's episode. Now you guys know by now, Squarespace is a very long-time supporter of this YouTube channel and my creative endeavors. Simply put, they're just the easiest way to make any sort of creative website, whether you're looking to display your work, create an e-commerce or gallery page to be able to sell products or display your photography, even book appointments. Squarespace makes all of this extremely easy to do and streamlined. For someone like myself who doesn't know how to code, Squarespace makes it extremely easy to lay your website out. You don't need to know any sort of code. You can just drag and drop different templates, and it works flawlessly. I've been using Squarespace now pretty much since the start of my career, and I can't recommend them enough to anyone who's looking to create any sort of creative website. There's a link down in the description if you want to check out Squarespace for yourself and receive 10% off your first website or domain purchase. Thanks so much to Squarespace as always for sponsoring this video. Thanks you guys for watching. See you in the next one.